about a month of closures, the 2nd Street Bridge is expected to be fully reopened after 5 p.m. today, but not before it is fully closed again. So here's what I mean by that. The northbound lanes have been closed since mid-March, and the southbound lanes have been open. But from 2:30 until 5 today, both directions will be closed as crews restrict the roadway. Now, this is believed to be the final step of repairs to damages from that crash last month that sent the semi over the edge. KYTC officials say the repair project is wrapping up nearly a week ahead of schedule, which will help avoid disruptions to the city's preparations for thunder over Louisville.
This morning, we are learning more about the proposed new contract for LMPD officers. The deal includes immediate raises across the board for new and returning officers, with more increases later this year. It's
raising questions for some as the department continues to negotiate a consent decree with the Department of Justice to manage those reforms. WHAS11's Connor Steffen and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie report.
I think that making sure that we've got officers that are well compensated, that are well taken care of, but that also are held accountable when they do things incorrectly, I think is really important, and I think that's really the direction that we're moving.
The 120-plus pages between both collective bargaining agreements tackle a slew of issues, from working conditions to job benefits and police salaries.
Really, one of the main things is bumping up our levels of pay.
If both proposals pass Metro Council, all LMPD officers and sergeants will see an immediate 7% boost in pay. Another round of raises would go into effect in July, bringing starting officer pay to just over $60,000 a year. As of April 2nd, LMPD says the force is short 280 officers. Winkler says Louisville is competing for officers with departments in cities like Lexington and Covington, as well as right here in the county.
Going to St. Matthews, Shapley, other areas, other police departments.
Bishop Dennis Lyons has long had his finger on the pulse of the community.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gospel in My Soul Radio.
He spoke about the FOP contracts during his radio show on 104.7 WLOU.
In the midst of the DOJ report, in the midst of all of the things that the police department has done in the community against our civil rights, we may also see it as, we're going to pay you for what you've done.
Back at City Hall, Winkler says prioritizing pay, especially for experienced officers, helps prioritize public safety.
When you have your more experienced officers leaving, you have a less experienced force, and that certainly creates an opportunity for risk.
Connor Steffen, WHAS 11, on your side.
Metro Council will have a special meeting Monday to hear from you before voting on the contract. It starts at 5 p.m. at City Hall. If you do want to speak, you have to register online before 4 o'clock today. We've got a link in this story on WHAS11.com.
The Kentucky Senate could confirm the state's new education commissioner today. His name is Dr. Robbie Fletcher. He'll appear in front of a Senate committee today to lay out his vision for the future of education in Kentucky. The KBE chose Fletcher from a list of 3 candidates. He'll replace interim education commissioner Robin Fields Kinney. She stepped in after Kentucky's last education commissioner, Dr. Jason Glass, stepped down in September. Dr. Fletcher has served as the superintendent of Lawrence County Schools since 2014. As the new education commissioner, he'll oversee nearly 700,000 students in the state's 171 public school districts.
The head of the Jefferson County Bus Drivers Union is showing some support for the controversial new transportation plan. Wednesday, the school board decided to stop transportation to all magnet and traditional schools except for Central and Western high schools. That's because 75% at least of each school's students receive free or reduced lunch. The president of the JCPS bus union, John Stovall, showed his support, though, by in part saying, "We know it was a hard decision," and give props to Dr. Polio and the board for making the hard decision. But unless God, Christ, or Muhammad sends down 300 bus drivers to cover all of those runs, this is the best option. However, the plan has still gotten pushback. We talked to former JCPS principal Michelle Penix, who's worried about how neighborhood schools will handle an expected influx of students. She also says this new plan is an opportunity to improve those schools as other students and staff leave magnet programs.
And so now that we know those schools are going to be reduced, that they're not going to be as full as they have been before, where are those quality staff members who have the most experience, who have the greatest amount of education, where are they going to move to? And how can we set them up for success, not only in other places throughout the district, other schools that maybe haven't had the opportunity to have those type of staff members.
At least 14,000 students who relied on buses this year will have to either enroll in their reside school or find private transportation next year.
The University of Kentucky could name its new basketball coach as early as today, and many reports are pointing to BYU's head coach, Mark Pope. ESPN reports UK is finalizing a deal with the former Wildcat who won the championship under Rick Pitino. He's been at BYU since 2019. Before that, he was the head coach at Utah Valley. Since being with the Cougars, Pope's taken 2 teams to the NCAA tournament, but he's yet to win an NCAA tournament game. Pope would replace John Calipari, who left for Arkansas earlier this week. Once we get final word or official word from UK, we will buzz you first in the WHAS11 news app.
It is a windy start to our day. Ben, let's get over to you.
Yeah, windy and eventually wet again. Thankfully, not going to be a washout. It is right now mostly dry, but you can see that rain that's moving into central Indiana. That's going to be dropping over us a little bit later on this morning and into the early afternoon. However, it's going to be drying out later today, and some sunshine should return by later on this afternoon. And it's going to open the door to a sunny weekend. We'll have that good news coming up in just a few minutes.